So good morning, everybody. We'll go ahead and get started. I want to thank all of you for joining us today for the webinar. This webinar is part of a monthly webinar series put on by the Business Services team of the Northwest Wisconsin Workforce Investment Board. Webinars take place every second Tuesday of the month at 11 a.m. Be sure to join us next month, March 13th, for a webinar on Knowledge is Power, Accessing the Labor Market Demographics and Labor Pool in Northwest Wisconsin. On that note, all of our webinars are also recorded and available for viewing on our website, nwwiv.com/biz, B-I-Z, services webinars. I want to welcome Connie Constantine, Business Services Regional Manager for the Northwest Wisconsin SEP, and Tasha Hagberg, Business Consultant for Northwest Wisconsin SEP today. They'll be presenting on the job training as a solution for your hiring needs. The presentation will be followed by a brief question and answer session, so if you have any questions, please wait until that time. With that, I'd like to thank Connie and Tasha for joining us today and hand it over to you two.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Glad to have you on with us today, and for those of you that are going to be watching recorded, this is something that I spend a lot of time in my job as a business consultant with Northwest Wisconsin SEP, talking and sharing with businesses, because a lot of people don't understand that there is actually free money out there for our businesses in our region. So I want you all to think about the last time you watched the news. Somebody was probably talking about that the federal government helped create so many new jobs, or the federal government helped put so many people back to work. And a lot of business owners and leaders always go, well, where's that money? Today we're going to talk about how you can access some of that money, and that is the on-the-job training dollars, or OJT as they are known. So we're going to jump into that. So again, my name is Tasha Hagberg. I am a business consultant with Northwest Wisconsin SEP. And, oops, our screen is a little froze. I am a business consultant in the western 5 counties of our region. Thank you. And we do have a business consultant on our eastern side as well. So you'll see Winnie's name down there, and she is in Ashland, Bayfield, Iron, Price, and Taylor counties. So that way you can work with someone who really knows the environment of the workforce in your region. Connie Constantine, who is here as well with us today, is our regional manager for the west side, but she does all of business services. So any of those contacts on there, you can give a call. We will make sure you get to the right place. I will show these contacts again at the end, so that way you have all the information that you need. So what are we going to learn about today? We're going to learn what is on-the-job training. We want to know, is there really such thing as free money? Most of us hear that, and we run and hide when we hear that. Some common obstacles and misconceptions about the program, and then we're just going to wrap things up, and that will have the question and answer session for you. So this is a very common sign that we're seeing around our region with record low unemployment. Employers are saying, I don't even know if I want the money, just give me a body. We're hearing that a lot, and we're struggling to give you the bodies as well, but we are working on it. So that really is where the on-the-job training program comes in. Sometimes you're interviewing candidates right now that maybe don't have all the skills needed. You might like the person, but they're just going to take a little bit more work, and that used to scare a lot of employers. You know, I'd rather hire somebody that has all the skills now, and then I have it easier. Well, right now, beggars can't be choosers in employers. So we are looking at people that don't have all the skills, but that takes a lot of money to train them and bring them up to the standard that you need. That's where OJT dollars come in. So the on-the-job training program allows you to hire them and then train these underskilled or unskilled workers, and then you get to be reimbursed for part of their wages to help offset that extra cost of training. It is supported by federal dollars through WIOA, which is the Workforce Innovations and Opportunities Act. And how it works is typically we will reimburse the employer. So they're your employee. You hire them, you pay them. We then reimburse you 50% of their wages for a predetermined period of time. Typically that's 6 to 12 weeks. Yes, we know training can go a lot longer than that, sometimes for up to a year to get somebody on board, but this really helps you get them to the point of where they would be if you hired them with the skills and then had to train them in your specifics of your company. So it really does help that. And the final point that I want to point out to you, because everybody hears federal dollars, and again, you want to run and hide because of the mountain of paperwork that you're envisioning, this program has extremely low levels of paperwork. So we're going to discuss that later, but minimal paperwork means more time for you to do your job. So that's going to be very important. So government money, right? That's what we're talking about here. So is there really such thing as free money? Well, yes. It's money that you're going to spend doing what you're doing anyways, and this is just going to supplement that. So we're not asking you to do anything above and beyond what you're already doing, and that's why it's so easy to access this money. We have 3 different ways that we can help you get a hold of some of this OJT funding. The first one, and this is what people think of the program quite often, is that we're going to call you and say, hey, we've got a candidate that we think would be good for this job, and you're going to hire our candidate, and we're then going to help offset the wages that they're having. So we just, that's just a direct referral. We refer them to you, or maybe one of our partner agencies refers them to you. So we do work with Veteran Services. We work with DVR, job centers. So we work with a lot of different partner agencies as well. So if we refer them to you, that we could pay that. However, our most common way of funding OJT is through the reverse referral. And this is one that a lot of people have a hard time believing, but you actually find your candidate. You interview the candidate, and then you call us and say, hey, I've got a candidate that I would really like to hire. They might not have all the skills. Is there on-the-job training funding available? So we call that a reverse referral. So that is seriously taking your favorite candidate and seeing if we can make it work here. The third one is sometimes a little bit trickier to utilize, but it does exist. It is the on-the-job training upgrade. So let's just say you have an entry-level employee that you want to promote into a new position. So somebody that might not have the skills as a supervisor, has never worked as a supervisor, and that's going to require a lot of training as well. Or you're going to move them into a different position that requires different skills, but it's an upgrade position. There is funding as well available for on-the-job training upgrades. So again, they're going to be learning new skills. You have more training. Instead of hiring from outside to fill that higher level position, it's great for the workforce, because that's our goal, is to keep elevating the workforce for us to take that candidate, move them into a higher job, and then we can backfill and possibly do an OJT for your new candidate to take the old job. So those are the 3 ways that you can access the OJT program. So there really is such thing as free money out there, and yes, it's from the government and they are here to help, and that's not a joke this time. So what's the catch? So there's really not many catches, but there are some parameters that we have to operate under the OJT program. So the first is the job. What kind of job are you offering? We do set some guidelines, and the first one is that the job has to be full-time and year-round. Full-time is defined as 32 hours per week. Again, we are elevating the workforce, so we want to make sure we set a minimum standard of what that looks like. 2, the job has to pay at least $10 per hour. Again, minimum wage jobs are considered to be low-skilled and training when you start getting in there, so we want to make sure that the job is $10 an hour. And the job must have one benefit. And a lot of times we hear from our businesses that, they can't afford health insurance or they're too small for health insurance. That's not the only benefit out there. That is a benefit that would qualify. Sick time, vacation time, a day off on their birthday, paid holidays, those are all benefits. So we just want to make sure that there is at least one benefit that goes along with the job. That's pretty simple. Let's move on. How about the candidates? Well, if you've heard on the news, whenever they talk about creating so many jobs, the next statement out of their mouth is, we also put this many people back to work. You'll see a lot of times where a lot of government programs want to count both populations, and this is no different. So we do look at the candidates as well, even though the funding goes directly to the employer. So when we have a candidate and you want to hire this person, we have to make sure that that person is eligible for WIOA. They have to be legal to work in the United States. I mean, we're going to check that and make sure that they're legal. We have a couple other things that we're going to talk about later, but they have to have registered for selective services if that's required. So we have a few things that we need to look at to make sure they are eligible. Typically, they're low income or have a barrier to employment. This is kind of a moving target for us right now, but and it's hard to say because income and what's classified there is going to really be different for every family, and it's not something that you, when you're interviewing somebody, might know off the bat. So those are things that we have to look at, and we do it in a very discreet way and make it very easy for everyone. But just so you know that that is very typical. And we do want to see that it's somebody that doesn't necessarily have all the skills required for the job the day that they walk onto the job. There has to be a need for the training. So we are looking at that as well. So the holdup. This is probably going to be the number one barrier to employers using the OJT program, and it's just really a mind shift more than any serious obstacle. The employee must meet with SEP and be enrolled is what we call it, even though it's not an entitlement program. I want to be very clear because everyone thinks that. We have to have them in our system before the formal job offer is made. So while it's an employee benefit, we have to go through and check their eligibility and all of that before you do that. So this is really going to be in that reverse referral realm. Usually if we send a candidate to you, we've already got a lot of this information and they're already enrolled in our system. But this is the big holdup here. So typically what you're going to do is you're going to interview a candidate. You're not going to offer them the job right away. You can tell them that you're very interested in them, but you want them to meet with SEP first. So the number one reason that I say no to employers on an on-the-job training contract is they'll call me and say, hey, I hired someone last week. I want them to start in 2 weeks. Can you do an OJT? Well, once you say that you've already hired them, I can't do it. So you have to hit the pause button after the interview, and that does sometimes just change the way your normal business process flows. But at the same time, these contracts can be worth thousands of dollars to your business, so we're just kind of asking you to place that pause button there and let us, give us a few days to be able to get someone enrolled, and that way we can access these funds for you. We do also offer a benefit to employees, so it's not guaranteed. You might not always even know it, but when the employee does come in and meet with us, we do sometimes have funding available that we can help them. So again, if we are dealing with people that tend to be more on the low income, low skill side, then we can have things that could offset childcare, mileage. We might be able to help with steel toe boots if they're needed, or work equipment, tools. So there can be a benefit there for them as well. So a lot of times employers feel odd sending people to us, and what they don't realize is that we make it worth their time if we can. So it's really not as painful as it sounds, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit as well on how to talk to the candidates about coming in to see us. So some other obstacles that we have in here, funding gaps. Some of you may have been, when we had sequestration in the federal government, there's other times where our funding to pay for these programs may be held up. We are hoping those are going to be few and far between. But that is something that some people have heard about, and they think that happens often. It does not happen often. It has happened, and we are operating on federal dollars, but that can be an obstacle. Employee barriers, so when I told you that we have people come in, self-sustaining wage, what that is again, it's something that's going to prove that they have a need. If they're already making a self-sustaining wage, they may not qualify for these funds because we want to elevate people up to a level of being self-sustaining. Previously failed OJTs might be a reason that we say no, failure to register with selective services. If they self-disclose some behaviors like drug use or abuse, we might not want to fund that. We might not be able to tell you why we can't do it, but it is something that we just want to make sure that these are going to be successful dollars spent, so that would be a reason. Sometimes failure to provide information needed. We do require proof of residency and social security number. If they don't give that to us, we can't prove that they're a legal citizen and able to fund the contract. So sometimes the person that you want to hire is just not getting us what we need. Backward wages. This makes a lot of sense. You may not know it right away when you refer us to somebody, but if someone is currently making $15 an hour and you want to pay them $11, the federal government and SEP, we really don't want to be funding them making less money. There are some extenuating circumstances if they, for instance, are driving 2 hours each way for work, something like that that's prohibitive to them really being successful. We may have to look at that, but for the most part, we're not going to fund if they're going to be going backwards in wages. The main obstacle then, once we get through that pause button, is how to refer a candidate to us. So that is something that can get a little confusing. So really it's 6 steps. It's pretty simple again. It's just breaking down that mystery that surrounds this program. The best way to do it is to call us as soon as you post a position. Don't even wait till you have the candidate. Just keep in touch with your business consultant. Let us know when you have a position available. We can tell you right away if that position is going to be a position that could be OJT eligible. And it sometimes triggers us to keep in touch with you and remind you about that pause button so you're not having to be so focused on that change in the way you do business. We can help stay on top of you and see how things are going. As soon as you have completed the job interviews and you have a good candidate, do not offer them the job yet. So that's the big one. That's actually, like I said, the number one reason that we have to say no sometimes. You can tell the candidate that they're interested, but they first need to meet with SEP. A lot of times what I tell my employers is it's really easy to talk to somebody and say, we are participating in a program, a workforce development program in our region. And in order to participate in this program, we need you to meet with SEP first before we, offer you the job. You can let them know that you're interested in them, all of this, but just let them know that they have to meet with us first. It's not on them. This is not about anything on this employee needing more help. It's you utilizing the program. We've been met with very little resistance ever when an employer uses this language. You then can just let us know who your candidate is. We will contact them. We will set up the intake with them. Usually we can meet with them within a week. Sometimes it can be as low as a couple of days, but we usually say give us a week and we can meet with the candidate and try to find a time and sometimes even a place that's convenient for the candidates because we do have a spread out area, as you well know, but we are willing to do our best to accommodate. We will meet with them. We let them know what information to bring, like proof of Social Security number and address, and we do ask for proof of income because we need to know about that self-sustaining wage. As soon as they meet with the career specialist, then they let me know if it is good to go, and then the business consultant will contact you and say, yes, we are good to go, or I'm sorry, this one is not going to work. If we say no, you can still hire them anyway. So we just jump to number 6 because there's really nothing different there. You're going to call and offer the candidate the job that you sent to us either way. If it's not, if you want to try to find someone to utilize that, you can hold. But most employers are going to go ahead and offer the job with or without the on-the-job training funding because it's the right candidate. And we just talked about the labor market. And the labor market is one that if you find the right one, you snatch them up. So we let you know pretty quickly if it's going to work or not. As soon as you offer them the job, it is business as usual. So we have a few more pieces of things, paperwork that we're going to tie up, but we're not asking you to do any more pausing in your business day. So we're going to keep things moving for you. Paperwork. I promised you easy paperwork. The paperwork is really easy. So we have contract, monitor, invoicing. The contract, you're going to sign your name twice on a contract. The first part is you are going to agree to do business legally and ethically. You are going to agree that you are going to supervise the candidate. You are going to agree to pay the candidate. You are going to agree to withhold taxes and monitor their time sheets and have workman's comp and pay unemployment and literally business as usual. You are just agreeing to that part. The only extra part is that if something happens to the candidate, if they get injured, if they quit, or if they get terminated, you need to let us know. That's what you're agreeing to on the contract. The final signature on the contract is really you just agreeing that you're not going to be replacing, you didn't just do a mass layoff and now you want to hire subsidized workers to replace that workforce. Or you haven't just shut down a business in one town to reopen in another, so you laid off 25 people to rehire 25 people somewhere else. The government's not going to help fund that, and our program can't help fund that. So those are what you're going to be attesting to. It's very rare that I have this come up. And again, that's within the last 120 days that we look at that. So that's very rare. 2 signatures, really quick, does not take much time. The monitor. In the 2nd and 3rd week on the job for the employee, you will be visited by a member of our staff here at Northwest Wisconsin SEP, and all we are doing is called an on-site monitor. This means we have to have eyeballs on the candidate. So it is about a 2 to 5 minute meeting, unless there's an issue. And we stop in, we see the candidate, and the candidate signs the piece of paper that says, yes, I continue to work here and I benefit from this job. The supervisor signs and says, yes, the candidate still works here and they benefit from this job. I sign and say, yes, I saw them. They have a way of tracking payroll and everything, and the candidate benefits from the job. It's in and out. We don't interrupt your workday very long. Then all that's left is invoicing. Invoicing, we give you an invoice sheet. It's pretty self-explanatory. It does not take a lot of work. You just write in the number of hours on each day. You submit it monthly to us, and you can submit it by scanning it. We do ask for a copy of payroll records, so like a QuickBooks printout or whatever you're using that tracks their hours and wage, and scan it to us. We get you a check usually within a couple of weeks. It's really simple. You do that once a month until the contract runs out. So it's extremely easy to access. It's extremely easy to get paid. And I would like to note that that money is tax-free. So in almost all cases with businesses, it is tax-free money. So when we talk about free money, we really are talking free money. So we're going to wrap things up here. That's really all that we have. Here's our contact information. I'll leave this up while we have our question and answer session. But if you have any questions, I can tell you, Connie, myself, and Winnie, we would love to be able to talk with you. Give us a call, send us an email. We can explain the program more in depth. It's not always a perfect system. Sometimes we do have to say no, but, the thousands of dollars are worth that 5 minutes of time to find out sometimes. So we encourage you to utilize this money in our region because we all want to make sure that we are elevating our workforce and making our businesses as productive as possible. All right.
And we want that federal money spent here to invest in our people.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Does anybody have any questions?
A question from Sawyer County. We have a large employer who is hiring people to work on a production line. So the training is they can take somebody right out of high school and train them how to work on a production line. Would that qualify for the program?
Potentially. If the person is going to be a full-time regular employee making at least $10 an hour, then yes. If it's going to be a temporary program because they're just doing it to train or they're just doing it to get through a certain production cycle and they need more people, then no, it would not.
Okay, good, because this employer pays $20 an hour for starting salaries.
Yes.
These are
Yep.
full positions.
Yes. So no, it definitely would be eligible. Again, we have to get down to the other criteria with the employee, but if they are coming in right out of high school, and we can definitely take a look at that for them.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Anyone else?
Is there a business size that qualifies, or does any business qualify?
Any business that has employees qualifies.
It could be even just one employee. That'll work.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And if you have questions to speak more specifically about your business, please call us.
Yes.
Any other questions for Tasha or Connie? Any last words?
Thank you for your time, and we look forward to working with you.
Yes, give us a call. Utilize that money.
Thank you, Tasha and Connie. We appreciate it so much, and thank you, everybody, for joining us. Have a great day.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.